What's up? What it do, cyber world? It's your girl, the one and only Ash Brown, and this is my House of the Dragon recap. Episode 7, it just went off. Wow. Wow, wow, and wow. This is what we've been looking forward to all season. You know, we may soon forgive them in the first 3 episodes, because the first 3 episodes was kind of slow. Right? Kind of slow, but and I haven't figured out if I want to forgive them for only giving us 8 episodes this season. As y'all started us off on season 1, we had 10 episodes. I expected season 2 to have 10 episodes. Now, episode 8 is supposed to be like 73 minutes long, but that's still, it's whatever. This episode, I think, was like 64 minutes long or whatever. But yeah, so first off, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you out there listening to all of my recaps and reviews and all my features and stuff, because, I mean, I wouldn't be doing the show without y'all. And I have to give a special shout to my aunt and uncle out there in beautiful Rhode Island, darling. Yes. Auntie Anne-Marie, Uncle Frank, thank you guys for tuning in. I hear Uncle Frank's a big Game of Thrones, nerd, kind of like me. I'm a brother. So that was really cool to find that out. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I mean, let's get into it. This is the second to last episode, and wowzers. So we jump into the very first scene. First scene, we see Rhaenyra basically facing off with Adam. We don't know anything what's going to happen. At that moment, I'm just like, Adam, just don't say the wrong thing, all right? Don't piss off the rightful heir to the throne, all right? Don't piss her off. And so just seeing them out, like, in that setting, you get to see a little bit more details on the dragons. I really like that. And, of course, Adam bent the knee to her, and he's like, look, I just want to learn to be a really awesome dragon rider. I want to learn from you all. And, you know, the dragon chose me, because at first, going out there, she didn't know what to expect. She's like, okay, someone has claimed my quote-unquote deceased husband's dragon, Laenor. And another thing that I thought was interesting is I saw online this week as they were saying that these dragons have a very strong bond with their riders. So remember in the beginning of the season, Sea Smoke was very like whining and crying and almost like mourning or feeling rejected from Laenor, because Laenor's supposed to be quote unquote dead, even though we know he faked his death with the help of Rhaenyra and Daemon, of course. And so one of the theories is Laenor might really actually be dead now, which is why Sea Smoke sought out a new rider. Who's to say? I don't know. You know, it's one of those things. But I thought that was a really cool thing. And Rhaenyra is kind of delighted. She's surprised, delighted. Like, you see her emotions just go through a whole whirlwind of just like, oh my gosh, like, wow, this is great. This is wonderful. We have a new rider. And so they switch over to Alicent. Alicent is one of my least favorite characters. I mean, Sir Christian Cole, he can go off and fall off somewhere. I really don't care for him at all. But Alicent, she really has no power at all now. She has no seat at the council. She really serves no purpose. So she's like depressed and she feels casted aside and all the things. And honestly, she is the main reason that this whole situation is happening. She's the main ringleader. And now she is not involved in any of the planning or anything. So that's pretty interesting. And from the last episode when they were in town and there was there was a lot of chaos going on because Rhaenyra had just sent a bunch of food for the people there because, again, Aemon was just being a real douche and closed the gates, wouldn't let anybody out. There was no food, very low supply. And so Rhaenyra sent food. And so in that whole scuffle of people just being excited and running up and just doing stuff, Alicent got cut on like her forearm. And so in the scene, you're seeing the maester kind of cleaning her up and getting her situated. And she's just like, woe is me, what da da. I'm like, Allison, whatever, girl. We are over you. I'm okay if you don't come back for season 3. I'm okay. I'm not going to lose any sleep about it. Not in the least. Okay, so Ironclad. He is the other guy that's at the council at King's Landing with Aemond. And so Ironclad is standing outside with Lairce, and they found, what was it, some soldiers, I don't know, they were overlooking stuff. And Ironclad is telling him, look, I hear that Sea Smoke has a new rider. And Lairce is like, well, okay, all right, he's got a new rider, okay, whatever. Who told you this? And he's like, oh, some of the, the service people, whatever. And he's like, yeah, maybe you keep something like that to yourself. Maybe you don't share that. And he was like, well, I thought that maybe you could share something like that to the King Regent, Aemond, and, share that information to him. And he was like, no. He's like, if you want to share it with him, you go right ahead, but it doesn't seem like it's really pertinent information. He's like, okay, well, who's the writer? Nobody knows. So that also was working very much in their favor. So we switch back to Dragonstone. Rhaenyra's council is upset. They are just visibly, they're upset. They're just like, what the heck? Blah, blah, blah. And it's so funny. Like, it was just, this episode it was very detail oriented. So I really enjoyed it. And so they're at the council, they're like, oh my gosh, we can't be just having lowborns, which is like, I guess lower class people or whatever the case is. We can't just be having lowborns just claiming dragons. It's unconstitutional. It's this, it's that. And then they're like, oh yeah, this writer. And they turn to Corlys and they're like, yeah, Corlys, what do you have to say about this writer? Because he's one of your people from your shipyard. And you can already kind of see the wheels in motion in Corlys's head. Like, he's like, shit, I know that's one of my kids. That was one of my sons. He already knew. And so that was funny. That was pretty precious. And so the council is also very upset that Rhaenyra has made Adam a guest. He's made him a guest. And, because they were like, oh, we can't be having people just stealing dragons, blah, blah, blah. But Rhaenyra's made him a guest. So she's a queen. What she says goes. Next scene, they cut to Mysaria. So Mysaria is at first, she's kind of suspicious of Adam. She's like, who is this guy? What are his intentions? Like, what is he trying to do? And Rhaenyra is really just like believing back. It's like she's finally gotten her confidence back in believing in her plan and making it work without bloodshed. Now that Adam has told her that the dragon essentially claimed him. Like, he didn't go after the dragon. The dragon came after him and basically ran him down. I was like, I like you. I'm going to take you. We're going to have you. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And so they talk, and as they're talking and Rhaenyra is pulling out all these different scenarios, she's kind of a little bit all over the place and she starts to doubt her plan. And Mysaria kind of brings her back into focus. And she's like, look, I think that you should embrace this Adam guy. Because they were talking about, oh, well, highborns, meaning like people like her where, they're essentially like purebred type of things versus somebody lowborn, meaning like they're more poor and they just are not a good thing for the crown, essentially. And Mysaria tells her, she's like, look at your brothers, your half brothers. They're quote unquote highborns, and look how they try to destroy you. She's like, this guy here, he may be of lowborn descent or whatever, but he's pledged his allegiance to you and hasn't really asked you for much of anything. So really think about that. So that kind of puts things better into perspective for Rhaenyra. And I think that she really appreciated getting that from Mysaria. And she even said, let us raise an army of bastards, because at first it was like, oh, we probably can't do that because it's not going to be good. It's not going to look great. No, let's raise an army of bastards. If we're going to win this war, we're going to do it all and we're going to make it happen. So next scene, Corlys goes to see Adam in his guest room. And you're just like, okay, this is the first time I've seen them on screen interacting. And you're just like, okay, what's going to happen? And Corliss is like, oh, you've come up in the world, and you've made something of yourself. And Adam basically requests of him to take him off of duty from the shipboard stuff, or the ship, whatever you call that stuff, the ship work that he was doing outside. He's like, can I be excused from it? He's like, yeah, that's not a problem. And in this like brief moment, you just like see Corliss really embrace him for the first time. Because if you remember in previous episodes, Adam is always talking to Alan. Not last episode, but I think episode before last. He was talking to Alan, and Alan was shaving his head. And you could see that Alan has the silver Valerian hair or whatever. And he says to Alan, at least Corliss acknowledges you. He acts as if I don't exist. He doesn't see me. And in this scene, you feel like that first bond of, wow, he actually made something of himself. He wasn't trying to take something from my title to build himself up. And you see Corliss essentially acknowledging Adam and having like that proud moment of, wow, you built yourself up and look where you are. And you see Adam kind of really receiving it because, again, Corliss has been acting like these kids are not his and nobody knows it. Well, probably nobody knows it but them. But I think that was a really awesome moment. Damon, I'm really getting sick of Damon at Harrenhal because he's really not accomplished much, but in this episode, he does plenty. So he meets with Oscar Tully. Now, Oscar Tully's grandsire was Grover Tully. And I don't know if you guys are new, there's a lot of Sesame Street references in this story because there's Grover Tully, there's Oscar Tully, and I believe they said there's an Elmo Tully. We'll probably get to that in later seasons. But yeah, so Lord Tully, Grover Tully passes away, and his grandson, Oscar Tully, meets with Damon. And he basically tells him, look, Damon, you've made a mess of things, and I can't necessarily say that I can get my people on board with this. They don't like you, essentially. And Damon was like, look, I don't need them to love me. I need their swords. That's it. That's what I need. So they go outside and meet with the Riverland people. I don't know what they call it. I'll just call them the Riverland people. It's easy. So they meet with the Riverland people, and Oscar Tully, like, you can see him kind of getting into his young manhood, like he's slowly but surely going into that role of, look, I may be young, but I have this power. And you can see the Riverlords were like really they really weren't accepting of Damon because they know all the negative stuff that Damon has been doing to try to get people on his side and to follow him and to go to war with him, or for him, really, essentially. And I want to say that was Lord Blackwood. I think it was Lord Blackwood is the one that he kind of gave the orders. He's like, do whatever is necessary to get them to be on our side. That's it. Do it to do it. So they get outside, and all the Riverlords are around, and they're all like pissed at Damon. And so Oscar Tully, he basically goes around and says, look, at the end of the day, we're going to honor Viserys's heir, which is Queen Rhaenyra. We swore an oath to Viserys, and we're going to honor Queen Rhaenyra and her king consort, Daemon, which Daemon was not too happy with that, but we already know. Daemon already got issues with that or whatever. And so, the Riverlords, they were all about honoring things and all about upkeeping what they already held tight to as far as like oaths go. So like, we're all about oaths, we're all about honor, but what about the dishonor that's been happening in our town? And someone needs to be held accountable. And so Oscar Tully took a very sharp turn that I didn't see the young man taking in this episode. So Oscar Tully basically says, yeah, I absolutely agree that there needs to be someone to be held accountable, essentially. So they pull out Lord Blackwood or whatever, because they know that he was the one that was doing all of the negative things in town, but it was under Damon's watch. It was under Damon's command. And so they pull him up, and Oscar Tully was just like, look, this is the person held accountable for all the wrongdoings, and now Damon, you need to make things right. And so they seize Blackwood, and not before long, you see Damon like wrestling like with it. You can see like it's messing with his spirit. Like he's like, man, he gonna make me kill this. Oh man, I don't want to kill this dude. Man, I just had him doing whatever. But he knew in order to get that army, he needed those people, and he was going to do whatever was necessary. So yeah, he slaughtered the guy right there and then. The same guy that he sent to do all the bad stuff, he killed the guy right there in front of everybody. And so now he has his army. That's the main reason that he was there at Harrenhal. And now he has it. So afterwards, you could see like his subconscious is messing with him, and he goes back to his chambers and he sees sick Viserys. So this is Viserys at like the end of season 1, and he's dying. His body is decaying. It's like really, it's a little extra. It's a bit extra. And he's seeing Daemon, and he's like, this crown, I didn't even want this. I didn't even want this. And he's like, yeah, you still want it? You still want this crown? And it was just crazy. So next thing, we go into Aegon. You see Aegon with the Maester, and the Maester is trying to help him up and walk and get some exercise in his chambers. And he's struggling, and I think he falls. And the Maester's trying to get him up, and he is like hollering. He's crying in agony. I would say probably 90% of his body's burnt. It's just like everything is burnt up. And you hear like a very heavy, very loud knocking at the door. And it's Larys. So Larys comes in. And remember, Larys is, he's got a disability. He's like crippled, kind of. Not kind of, but he got a limp going on, and he's got like that stick. So Larys comes in, and he was like, Maester, you shouldn't be handling Aegon by yourself like this. So imagine this. The whole series, we've seen Larys just like limping along and getting along. He goes over and he gets on the other side of Aegon, and they help him into the bed. And he gets into the bed, and you can see he's completely and totally exhausted. And Larys tells to him, and he was like, look, I know this was hard. I know it was very difficult, but you're not where you need to be. You're not where you need to be, and you need to work harder. And he walks over to the Maester. And evidently, Larys gave the Maester orders and was like, look, you need to get him up and get him walking, get him practice and all. He's like, look, I did all this stuff under your command, and he is completely exhausted. He's spent. He's like, yeah, let him get some rest. In a few hours, start it up again. Get him up and walking again. And he's like, he can't do that. He's like, look, get it done. Get it done. And so the Maester just, takes the order, and it is what it is. And it was a lot. It was a lot to see, and you're just like, goodness gracious. So next we see Corlys. He is telling Alan all about Adam, claiming the dragon and all this stuff. And in this moment, you could see like Corlys is like trying to figure out where Alan is. Like, does Alan want to have a dragon? Is he looking to get that? And Alan is basically like, look, my brother he's always wanted something else. He's always wanted something more. So essentially he's like, this is good for him essentially. He's always wanted something additional. And Corlys basically turns to him like, well, what about you? Do you want a dragon? And Alan gives him the perfect answer that further solidifies him being the heir to Driftmark. And he basically says, I'm water and sea. Is it sea and salt? Salt and sea. I knew it was something else. He's like, I'm salt and sea, nothing else. And so he walks off, and you see Corlys kind of smirking a little bit. And you can tell, like, that is exactly what he needed to know. And he knows that he doesn't have to worry about Alan going off and trying to get a dragon and all these different things. So, we go back to Raina and the kids. They're leaving Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre could not care for them any less than she does. She does not care for them. She's like, they didn't even bring me a dragon that I could use, because the dragons that they did give her, I wonder, somewhere along the line, I don't know where the eggs stayed or who had the actual dragons that were. I think the live dragons probably went with all of them out the gates. And maybe Jane Eyre kept the egg. I don't know what happened. But either way, Jane Eyre, she don't care. As soon as they about to leave the corner, Jane Eyre turns around and her people, they shut their gates. They're like, all right, gone. They're gone to Pentos. Because I believe Raina was promised to the king of Pentos, and she's supposed to marry him and all these things. But you can tell Raina still wants a dragon. I want Raina to get a dragon. I want Raina to get a dragon so bad. And I feel like they're merging Nettles. In the books, I know a little bit about the books, not too much, but I know about the books. In the books, Nettles, I believe, gets that dragon or another dragon. I'm not sure which one. But I feel like they've been kind of merging Nettle's story with Raina, with giving her some screen time. So I think that is actually pretty good. And so Raina soon kind of wanders off away from the carriage and the kids and everything. So she's like, look, I'm about to get a dragon. I'm going to catch this dragon. I don't know how, because she's had the worst luck out of anybody in the whole show. She has tried to claim so many dragons. Some of the dragons have been like almost claiming her life. It's been just dreadful, just terrible. So that's where her heart is. And I think at the end of it, I believe Raina's going to get a dragon, and she's going to help them to claim King's Landing. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm seeing. All right. So, next off, Allison. She's decided that she's going to go off with Lord Rickard. I think it's Rickard. Lord Rickard or whatever. And she's not taking any of her handmaidens, and she's not taking any other security, which in that time, in that setting, you just don't do. It just doesn't happen. It's weird. So Lord Rickard, he was looking like, are you sure you want to leave like that? And she's like, yeah, that's what we want to do. So they go off for whatever. She's just going off of King's Landing because she knows that she doesn't have a place really outside of her title. And she really doesn't feel like she has a purpose. So that's where I'm just like, it is what it is. Now we're jumping back to Dragonstone. So Jace is upset. He is upset with not being a part of the process. He is upset with the whole situation of the bastards and the lowborns. Because essentially, he feels like if a bastard could claim a dragon, then essentially a bastard could claim his title after she's gone. And he just feels very disconnected. And he knows very well that Sir Harwin was his father. He knows that. They've kind of etched on that. Like, he's talked with Bela about that before. And he feels a way about it because he feels like him being special really is tied to her. And after she's dead and gone, they can pull up the fact that, oh, well, he's a bastard and we're not going to give you the title. Just simple as that. So he really kind of feels like his position is not secured. And I could see how he could feel that way. I totally can see that. Okay, next thing we got Massaria. She gives Alan a message to take to someone. You're like, who is he taking this message to? Alan don't know nobody in King's Landing. I don't think he does. And so we find out later that the message is eventually given to the girl with the red hood. The girl who a couple episodes ago, they sent someone to King's Landing to kind of be, stirring up some trouble, dropping some stuff in there, stirring the pot, so to speak. And so we find out that it's that chick. And she starts going through town just sending a message. We don't know what the message is yet, right? So they're playing like the telephone game. Everybody's passing it around, passing. And it comes to be that Rhaenyra is looking for Targaryen bastards or lowborns to become dragon riders. It's a risky situation, and it may not end up well, but it could end up good, you know? It's a possibility. And after she just sent all that food to town, you know, a lot of people, especially the ones that know that they have some kind of Targaryen blood, they're more willing to go and assist. So, the bar guy, I get the feel in this scene. The guy in the bar, I think his name was Ulf. We're getting the feel. So so 3 guys are in the bar. One of them is Ulf. He's the one that was like bragging the last couple of episodes. Oh, his half brother is Daemon and Viserys, and he's this and he's that, but he never claimed the crown and blah, 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 blah. And so he's been running his mouth. He's been running his mouth to everyone. So everyone knows him as like the secret bastard, right? And so they're talking about this stuff, and they're like, hey man, you can claim you're a dragon. And he kind of hesitates as far as doing it. He's like, no, you know, my leg's broke, or, oh, I can't do it because blah, blah, blah. So they're like, wait, did you lie? He's like, no, of course I didn't lie. No, of course, that would never happen. I didn't lie, per se. Like, well, you know, I think that they had like a time for it. They were like, 8 p.m. tonight, blah, blah, blah. The ship is leaving. You better be on the ship, blah, blah, blah. So that was what that was. So you can definitely see he's uneasy. You can definitely see he's unsure if anything is going to work in his favor, because he's already told these people all this stuff. So everybody believes that he's this secret bastard. So he's like, I got to kind of keep up this charade, you know. I got to make this work. So the second townsman, that is Hugh Hammer. He's the one with the wife and the sick daughter. He decides that he's going to leave. He's going to actually do it. He explains it to his wife. His mother was a lady of the night. And his mother had the silver hair. And his mother told him that he favors her brothers, Viserys and Daemon. So you're like, oh, snap. So that is that, you know, bastard child. And he was like, look, we wouldn't want for anything again. If I'm able to claim a dragon, we would never want for anything. They'll make you a lady. We'll have tons of money. Everything's going to be great. And she's like, look, I don't want to be a lady. I don't want the title, and I don't want to be a widow. I don't want any of that. And so she disagrees with his leaving. He leaves with probably, if I had to guesstimate, I'd say it was a good room. It wasn't like 100 people. I'd say like 75 people. 75 people or so left for Dragonstone. They show Alicent again. She's in nature. She's wandering. She goes into the water. You're wondering, is she just going to end it all? She's really not adding anything to the show. And she knows that she's made a mess of things. But in one moment where she's in the water floating, she kind of opens up her eyes like she's had some kind of enlightenment in the moment, and she knows what to do or whatever. So she leaves, and that's the last we see of her. So next, Rhaenyra gets the lowborns from King's Landing. So they're like all in like the bottom part of Dragonstone. I don't even know where they're at. I don't know if it's the basement area, because it kind of seemed, I don't know. I couldn't really tell where it was. But anyways, so she's coming down these long staircases with her people, like the council's with her and everything. And you see Adam, and like he's got his new clothes on or something. Look at Adam, he's so cute. He totally reminds me of, was it Rob? Yeah, Rob from Milli Vanilli. I get that, like the locks, the skin. He totally has his structure. I don't know if it's some family relation or whatever, but it is what it is. So Rhaenyra gets down to where the lowborns are, and the Dragon Keeper is cutting a fit, y'all. He's pissed. He's like, this is an abomination. This is not supposed to happen like this. We're not helping you. You wanted to bring these people here, this abomination, you deal with it. And so for a moment, she's kind of shook, but she knows that she cannot show weakness in that moment. She has got to show confidence because these people are depending on her. They've opened up their lives to her, essentially. So she gives this long speech about what it is, the sacrifice that it is, and what it could possibly be, what the outcome could possibly be, and that some of you may lose your life. That's a reality of it. If you're really here for it, then let's go. So then they walk to, like, I don't know if they walk down or they walk to another room, but they walk to where that little cliff is that we saw earlier in the other episodes with the other dragons. And everybody comes out there, and she basically introduces Vermithor. And she said that they call him the Bronze Fury, and we will go to him now. And they get out there, and she calms Vermithor. Now, Vermithor is one of the oldest dragons. I believe they said after Vhagar, he's the next biggest one. And I don't know, I'm like, how old is Vhagar then? Is Vhagar older than Vermithor? Vermithor seems older, but he's just kind of been like, you think of him as like the granddaddy type. You know, he's the granddaddy dragon who's been out chilling. He hasn't really done much in recent times. He's seen a few wars and back in the day, but Vermithor is like, he's in chill mode, and he's kind of cranky grandpa. He's kind of got that vibe with it. So she calls on Vermithor. He comes, and he's kind of like riled up, and she's like, Vermithor, calm down. And she touches like his nose area, and he's like, all right, I'll chill. Okay. I'll chill out. All right, cool. And she gets him calm and chill. And then she asks, who among you wants to be the first to try to claim this dragon? And they get this little guy from the back. And I just felt really bad because I was like, oh, he's not going to make it. Because I could just tell he wasn't really walking with confidence. Rhaenyra didn't really give them any kind of speech. There's like 100 people or something to take care of. And at one time, and you don't really know what's going to work. So as he comes up, Rhaenyra tells him, look, I've done the work. The rest is up to you. And she walks off. And she and the rest of the council, they walk off and they go up to like the balcony area, I guess, to watch and see what happens. So the kid, like, he's standing up there and he's walking up, and then you can kind of see Vermithor ain't really playing with them. Because I was like, okay, is he going to do like see smoke and like psych him out? And Vermithor just started to just go for the jugular. He just started burning people up. Just everybody getting burned. He barbecued everybody. And Ulf, the bar guy, I'll just refer to him as the bar guy. Yeah, the bar guy. You get more and more feel like he was not telling the truth. They show Hugh Hammer. I felt like after he told the truth about his mother to his wife and like let us know like what the full story was on him, that he knew deep down inside that he could claim one of these dragons. So he's up there, he's watching, he's in the back of the crowd, and Vermithor just starts burning everybody, just cooking everybody up. He just eating fire. He just burning everybody, just reckless with it. I'm like, Vermithor, that was unnecessary. That was a bit much. And so Vermithor at some point, I don't know if he threw somebody or his tail or something happened, but the Ulf guy, he got kind of knocked off of the cliff area. And he kind of was knocked out for a little bit. He kind of dusts himself off. He found one of those torches that was on the wall, grabs it, and just runs off. He runs off down there. He don't know where he's running. He doesn't know the place. You're running like you know where you're going, sir. You do not know where you're going. So he runs off. And then Vermithor is just still cooking everybody up. He's cooking everybody up. He's eating everybody up. I'm just like, good God. Vermithor, I felt that was a bit much. You didn't have to kill everybody like that, Vermithor. That was just reckless. So eventually comes down to Hugh Hammer. And Hugh Hammer is just like yelling at Vermithor, like, come and get me. I'm here, And you see Vermithor in the first time with anyone outside of Rhaenyra he calms down and he puts his head down in order for, Hugh to touch him. And so you're like, oh my God, yes, he claimed him. Yes, he knew it was going to happen. And you can see Rhaenyra at the top kind of looking down and kind of like smirking, like, yes, this was not in vain. We got another rider. So, back to Ulf, okay? Ulf is running. He don't know where he's running. He don't know where he's going. He got the torch. He's just trying to get out of it. Right now, you're just looking at him. You're like, okay, you're a freaking scammer, lying about stuff. And he's walking, and it's like muddy, and it's kind of wet. And he steps into something. It's a dragon egg, y'all. He steps on a dragon egg. And he's lifting up his feet. He's like, oh, snap, what did I do? I just stepped into something. And you see Silverwing. Silverwing kind of comes out. Not with any fury. You could tell like she was probably like asleep or something. Like, you just woke me up by killing one of my babies. That was not okay. And so he tries to run away, and he's got something going on with his foot. I think he did say his foot was broken or something. He trips and falls, and Silverwing goes up to him and is just like looking at him and adoring him. And then she just kind of like, lays down in front of him type of thing. And so he's thinking that this is the end of me. She's about to barbecue me. I'm about to be snacking dinner. And it didn't happen. And he opened his eyes and he's like laughing because my theory with him, and I don't know if they're going to go into this. I don't know if it really even matters. I feel as though he heard the story of him. He's heard the stories of the bastards of Valerian and Targaryen blood. I think that he's heard those stories and he kind of convoluted and came together with his own little story of it. But I don't think he was telling the truth. He probably didn't even know his own heritage, in all honesty of it. And it just so happened to find out that he must have some kind of Targaryen blood in him. And that is why he was able to claim Silverwing. So I thought that was it. Oh my gosh. And then, okay, so they go back to King's Landing. They're having a council meeting. Daeron, that is the youngest child from Alicent and Viserys. And Daeron, they got word that Daeron's dragon has taken wing. Daeron's dragon has taken wing, so they're going to join the fight pretty soon. So you're like, okay, so he must have a pretty sizable dragon because he's 16. The dragon should be of decent size, and hopefully he's going to be able to, join in the fight and all that good stuff. So we may possibly say Daeron soon. Who knows? So, Ulf, that's the liar. That's the bar guy. Next thing you hear is people screaming, oh my God, dragon, dragon, dragon. And so Aemon is like, should nobody be driving no dragon through King's Landing? I'm the only one that's got the dragon. He opens up like the door area to go out on the balcony, and he sees this dragon, and he's trying to get a look to see because he doesn't recognize the dragon. He doesn't know who the heck this dragon is. He's supposed to be the only special one with the dragon. He should be the only one to be able to claim a dragon. And so he gets on his horse and he rides out to Vhagar. And as this is happening, y'all, I'm like, seems like a trap. That's exactly what I said. I said, seems like a trap. Seems like a trap, Aemon, and you're going to feed right into the hand, similar to how y'all trapped Rhaenys. So, Aemon gets Vhagar. They go flying. They going toward Dragonstone. And you can see, like, Aemon sees something. You're not really sure what he can see. He sees something, and he's trying to control Vhagar. Vhagar is still kind of like, nah, I can get him. I can make him murk. I can get in there. And he turns Vhagar around right as Rhaenyra is coming up on the hill, just so majestic. I was so proud of my girl. She gets up on the hill so majestic, and she got Vermithor behind her. What's his name was riding Silverwing? Syrax. Her dragon is Syrax. Syrax was behind her, and must have been Sea Smoke. So it was 3 dragons behind her, and she's standing up on the hill all proud and stuff. I'm like, yeah, we got dragons, y'all. We got dragons. I was so excited. I'm like, yes, we got dragons in this book. So Aemon turns around because he knows this can't be good. This can't be good. This cannot be good. So we saw the preview for next week. Oh my gosh, 73 minutes. I am so beside myself, y'all. I don't even know what to do. I can't believe y'all only gave us 8 episodes. I'm so mad. We're going to have to wait another year and a half for another season. But I did hear that there have been 2 new shows that have been greenlit for HBO that are in the Game of Thrones orbit, and they're all prequels. And so I think it's going to be an even better, situation of something else to watch and something else to be tuned into. This has just definitely been exciting for me. Like I said, my brother got me into Game of Thrones, and House of the Dragon has been my absolute favorite since Game of Thrones. I think I binged Game of Thrones, I watched it in 3 weeks during the pandemic. We had nothing else better to do, right? Let's watch some Game of Thrones. But yeah, so that was my recap of episode 7, darling. Next week is the season finale, and I'm just not ready for it. I feel like they should have gave us more. I feel like they should have, but it is what it is. But I appreciate you guys. I love all the support, all the shares, the cares. It makes a huge difference. And thank you all for tuning in. And until next week, till we drop this hot stuff on it, and we'll see what happens. Deuces. And if you haven't already, check out ashsaidit.com, ashsaidit.com. And of course, I am One Love Ash across social media. And yeah,